Hey, I'm Lance Lewis with Champion Video. So a couple days ago, I turned to my wife Kimberly, who also works in the video company here, and I said to her, "Hey, I think I'm going to do a live show every night." And then I called up my buddy Dan, and I said, "Hey, I'm doing a live show. How would you like to be on the show?" And he said, "Yeah, okay." I said, "How about tonight?" He said, "All right." So that was 2 nights ago. Dan Kirk, juggler with the yellow shoes. You can watch his interview down below. Now with him, we just did an interview, but I'd like to get him back and see if we can convince him to do a little bit of juggling for us now that we are, kind of figuring out other ways to use our house and have other kind of studios, not just sit down interview kind of stuff. You may know that you may notice that the show's changing a little bit every night. Like we just had a little pre-roll Champion Video stinger going on. We have a lot of this stuff, but because I decided I was going to do it kind of on such short term or short notice, it really was whatever we could put together for that day. And today we're stepping it up again. Yesterday we had Meredith from Advocates on the show, and she was talking to us about foster care and respite workers that they need. So make sure you check out those videos, maybe even if you get a chance, you can watch the videos. They're on our YouTube channel here. It's really helpful to us if you give us some likes, thumbs up, whatever you can. Also subscribe to our channel. We'd really appreciate it. So everybody in the event industry is hurting right now. We're certainly along with that because we're an event video production company. Don't know what the future looks like, but we're going to stay positive and we're going to keep ourselves busy. So that is why we're doing this. We are stepping up the production a little bit in the sense. So normally this is just myself and the person I'm talking to, but we stepped it up quite a bit today because now we have 3 people who are all socially distancing, but we added a camera operator. We're going to actually live mix Aaron's music for us, and it's going to be awesome. And we may make some mistakes because the crew is a skeleton crew. We've got 3 people in this place. One is our camera operator, Kimberly Lewis, and she's an amazing camera operator, but that's not all she does. We're going to have her on a show on another night. She can tell you about all the cool stuff that she's into. But she also was my makeup person, so I added some makeup tonight, get rid of my shiny forehead. So I know it's kind of silly. And for sound engineers tonight, our musical guest dialed in his own sound, and then I'm doing a little bit of sound on the other side. And then, so hopefully you're hearing this okay. And then for technical directing, that will be Lance Lewis. Yeah. And then for directing, that'll also be Lance Lewis. And for the host, that'll also be Lance Lewis. So this is a lot of people wearing a lot of hats here, but we are going to have so much fun. Hey, I can't wait for you guys to listen to our guests, and that's what we're going to start off with. Aaron Vorass, singer, songwriter. He is upstairs in my living room. He's going to start singing for us. This is going to be awesome. I hope you absolutely love it. Here we go.
The lipstick marks you made, my favorite shade, still stain the pillowcase on the side that you laid. Your sweater you wore from the uptown vintage store. You don't smell glossy, I can't open up the door. One of these days I throw it all away and start over new. But I'll be 6 feet under before I get over you. The love letters I wrote on those yellow sticky notes. Decorate the mirror where you'd powder your nose. Your heavenly scent, well it ain't gone yet. Smell of perfume, whiskey and cigarettes. One of these days I throw it all away, start over new. But I'll be 6 feet under before I get over you. I've been chain smoking memories and wishing they would disobey. My heart says it's too soon, but I'm afraid it's too late. Yeah, the Bushwalker CD you burned for me still makes me sad, but it's the best mixtape I have. One of these days I throw it all away and start over new. But I'll be 6 feet under before I get over you. 6 feet under before I get over you.
Hey, that was awesome. All right, hang tight there, Aaron. I'm just going to switch some things over. Take your little buggy off here
Take my
and
buggy
see
off.
if I can bring myself back in. Whew, that was awesome. Great way to start off the show. Love that song. Love your singing. So I want to tell everybody how we first met. I don't know if you even remember this or not, but I remember it. It was very memorable for me. I'm not sure if first met's the right way, but I had done some video work for you guys back when you were in a band, and another band, I should say. You've been how many bands you been in?
Oh, I stopped keeping track of that. No, I think I've been fortunate to be in bands for like pretty long stints. And they all seem to have lasted for about 10 years. Back in the 90s, I was in a band called Big Time, and then 2000s, I was in a band called Saturday Morning, and then transitioning over to 2010, 2011-ish, 12, I started in a band called Hurry Up Wait.
Cool. Hey, Aaron, I'm going to ask you. I know we discussed this prior, but I had told you not to take off the effect. But I think I am going to have you take off that effect, so we can just hear you a little bit better. Let me
How's
hear.
that, buddy?
Oh yeah, that's that. I think that's a little cleaner. So yes, it was when you were in Saturday Morning, and I'm not even sure how we met, but somehow I ended up doing like a promo video for you guys, and that was really cool. And I know we did a little bit of barter with it, and I love doing that.
I remember, didn't we do that in Green Bay? Was it at the now the places? What was that? The old theater in Green Bay? Meyer Theater?
where we shot the video.
Yeah, did we shoot that at Meyer Theater?
No, I think. Sorry, I'm doing a bad job at my switching over here. I think we did it at Goldie's place,
Oh, okay.
Rock Garden Studios.
All right, right on.
But I also have. I think I shot video of you at a wedding and pulled some footage from there, if I remember right.
Could be.
Yeah, so I just remember that being a fun memory for me and working on that project because you guys are all passionate about what you do and loved listening to you guys play. But the fun part was, and you might not remember this, but we did a little bit of a barter. Do you remember what we bartered?
I don't remember what we bartered for.
So I used to run a martial arts school, and
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and so I had you guys come to my martial arts school during our like picnic. This would have been like 2005
I do remember that.
or maybe 2006.
I remember debating back and forth whether we were going to work out kung fu fighting, but then I thought that was a little disrespectful. I didn't know
Yeah.
how you'd feel about that, Lance. We didn't know each other as well then. So.
Right. So it was just awesome. I absolutely, loved being able to provide that for my students. We threw a full-blown concert. You had your audio guy come in,
Yeah, man.
and it was awesome.
We did not pull any punches back in the day when it came to production, man. We Mike Rowland, very good friend of mine, drummer in that band, and he was always just very intent on making that production just as good as it could be, no matter where we were at. So, but for you, I'm sure we would have pulled out all the stops anyway. So,
Yeah, you didn't pull any punches. No, that was a very memorable experience for me. So Mike Rowland, you mentioned him. What's he up to now?
Mike is so awesome. He's just joined a new band, and I am going to kick myself because I know I'll remember it the second that I'm not trying to remember it. But he is he took a little bit of a hiatus from music for a while, but he's back into it. Looks like he's going to get back into it pretty much, fully immersed whenever this thing we we're all experiencing right now is over with.
Yeah. So when you go out and perform, is it, what does it include? Is it generally just you and a guitar? I mean, well, and I don't want to say just, right? I mean, is it you and a guitar?
No, that's a great question because it varies so much. It's part of the reason I love what I'm doing right now at this stage because I've been in bands for, better part of 25 years. And this is a combination of solo and then duo and trio shows, but the lineup changes. So musician friends of mine that I've made over the years that I've always wanted to be in a project with, but we always end up being in other primary projects. It gives me an opportunity to work with all those guys as their schedule allows. So it's this is really kind of a cool time stage in my music career right now, just because I get to kind of do what I what I love with people I really like.
Well, I love the positive attitude, but let's what do they say, brass tacks or something like that. Now I think everything's changed, right?
Yeah, when I say at this stage of my career, I wasn't like up, this week or last
Right.
week, more like in general.
What are things like for you with coronavirus? What happened? I mean,
Well, like everyone else, it seemed to happen overnight. It wasn't. It was more gradual than that, but like it was all of a sudden, and you think in terms of economically how it affected me and everyone else, but I think it hit maybe the arts and entertainment event community first. We kind of got the first wave, the first brunt of that as far as the close downs and cancellations of events, concerts. And so we've been feeling it maybe a little bit longer. We'll probably feel a little bit longer even at the tail end of it.
Yeah.
So it might have hit us a little bit more, but everybody is getting hit with this thing. I mean, there's nobody that's going to escape it entirely,
yeah. So
And more importantly, people's health is certainly much more of a concern.
yeah, absolutely. Are you ready for another song?
Sure.
All right. I am going to mute my audio, and just a reminder to turn your effect back on.
Thank you, my friend.
Yep. And take us away.
That's where all the magic happens.
There is no pleasure without pain, she said. There is no silver lining, she said. And it told me, I'm here. And it told me, forget your past, it isn't real, she said. Your future only exists inside of your messed up head. And it told me, I'm here. And it told me, or disconnect or to correct me, there is nothing left to fear. Paradise to fantasize, you made it all so crystal clear. And when you lose yourself, you're found, she said. Don't waste your whole damn life waiting to be dead. And it told me, I'm here. And it told me, I'm here.
Awesome. All right. Let me just take a moment to get my things fixed here. Just so you know, you still are on camera there, Aaron. I'm going to just
Here I am.
punch some buttons.
Lance is doing the button punching right now, just so y'all know. I tell a joke, but
Okay. Sorry about that. I wasn't even listening to you either. I'm switching so many hats here.
it's all good, bud.
All right. Let's take that effect off again. So for those people that are watching, you saw a miss switch right off the top of the song. Hope that didn't kill the moment for you. I noticed that as soon as I saw that, I went to me live instead of
I was dead inside when that happened, just so you know.
Yeah,
It's hard to get through that performance.
I'm known to kill people. I have that effect on people, no doubt about it. Hey, that was awesome. What's the name? What was first of all the name of the first song and the name of this song?
So the first song was 6 Feet Under. Second song was called Anhedonia.
Okay,
Are you familiar with the term?
I'm not. No, tell me about it.
So anhedonia is the complete absence of pleasure, feeling of pleasure. You know, anybody that's gone through depression has gone through various stages and degrees of anhedonia, and so that song is just kind of a song that kind of deals, you know, since we're all trying to be upbeat here, nice song about depression.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of where that came
I love
from.
it. Yeah. So, funny thing about Lance Lewis. So I love, first of all, I love minor scales. And in fact, just about every song that I think is one of my favorite songs. That's not true. I'm an '80s guy too. Did they do minor scale in the '80s? I'm not even sure.
Sure, they did, man. Some of the rock ballads had some.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I love sad, bittersweet songs. You know, I loved you, but I died.
Nice.
Not sure why. I've been really fortunate in my life, in the sense that even when I was kind of at a low point, just personal things going on, even then, and I do think I went through a form of depression, but man, it's nothing like the people I've seen suffer around me. I've just always been fortunate there. How does your music help you deal with things that you might be feeling in real life?
Yeah, so music has been is the best medication I've ever taken. You know, it's the medication that has absolutely no side effects, no unwanted results, you know, from it, and it's a way, I think, you know, for people that have a hard time communicating with other people. I think it's a way to kind of short circuit that. I think it's the purest form of communication from one human being to another, and I think it's also a great way of communicating with yourself or understanding yourself, you know, your own thought process. So for me, it's been like extremely cathartic. I mean, it's a very selfish endeavor for me in many ways, because I get way more out of it than I ever put into it, you know.
That's awesome. You know, I've met a lot of people throughout my life, as everybody has, and you're one of my favorite people. I don't know if I've ever told you that or not.
Back at you, Lance. Sincerely, no.
Well,
good people are hard to find.
So apparently you're a liar.
No, you liar.
No, you're an old soul. I don't know if anybody's ever told you that or not.
The first time I heard that, I was like 5. I didn't know what it meant. But they were like, "Why are you talking to me about politics, man? You're supposed to be 5."
Of course, it was a 2-year-old who was saying that to you. So.
Yeah, she was a little beyond her years too.
Hey, what goes into writing a song, Aaron?
God, you know, I don't even know necessarily how to answer that question. I could speak to my process. I mean, sometimes lyrics, words, phrases come to me first. So songs will start off as just a phrase or a hook. Sometimes it's just an event, you know. Then it starts pouring out. So a song will just kind of start pouring out of you. Sometimes it's a laborious type process. I think the song that took me the longest to write was 7 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's just, you know, it's always bits and pieces that just, you know, when you complete a song, when it's where you want it to be, you know.
Yeah.
And then you second guess yourself when you go in the studio and record it. But at least to get to that point, you know it's ready or it's not ready, and it's just no use forcing it. You know, it's got to happen naturally.
Yeah.
I think.
Hey, I want to just give a shout out to some of the people that are talking in YouTube chat. Maybe
Hey,
some
y'all.
of these people. Yeah. Meredith Beery's checking in. She was on the show last night. Heather Strong is.
Heather.
She gave you a bunch of claps, and she got a good laugh out of you saying you were dead inside.
Meredith and Heather, both awesome people.
Yeah, and AJ Ram, who actually would be great if we had him in here doing audio. He does audio, and
Very cool.
Yeah, in fact, he and I typically work an event together. It's a small event, but a figure skating ice show, so it'll be interesting.
Cool.
Probably going to get canceled. That one's still a little ways out. Okay, one more question before another song. Tell me about the process of going from creation to final product.
So when I started out writing, it's, you know, and I started to put music to words and melody, create melody. It always starts with either guitar, piano, and vocals, you know. So it's always a very stripped down version. And then when it goes, you know, I start to get the real talent involved, the musicians involved. When it goes to the studio process is when it kind of develops, and you know, I can always hear where I want it to be, you know, in my head. I just can't always make that happen myself. I'm very fortunate to know some amazing musicians that are very kind enough to record with me. So it's that process to me has to be the most, I think, the most fulfilling part of the process for me is the recording process. The song is there, it's in its, you know, it is as I imagine it. But when I start involving other people and I start, you know, they start buying into it, they start getting, you know, emotionally attached to it. To me, that's meaningful. And now it's a it's bigger than in the sum of its parts. At that point.
Cool. Now, I know we talked before the show about number of songs. We are coming up on our third song. I'm hoping you're going to stick around for at least 4. Are you feeling good about that?
Sure, we'll make it happen. For you, yeah.
For me. All right. So let's see. I'm trying to think. I was going to mention one other thing before we get rolling here. But I think if you are ready,
man.
you can take it away.
Sure.
The whiskey's going down small tonight. It has convinced me one more night I'll be alright. I can barely see your face anymore, and I can almost taste your whisper in the pour. Still sleep, rest in peace. So watch your picture slowly burn. I toast the smoke that rises from the earth. As the bottle slowly blows my sight of 2 shadows cast by a dancing firelight. Ooh, one more glass will chase this past right on night of me. Rest in peace.
All right. Give me a few moments to punch some buttons here. What was the name of that song, Aaron?
It's called Spirits. That's the one that took 7 years to live and write.
Okay, so I got to ask you that again because I wasn't wearing the right pair of headphones. What was the name of that song?
It's called Spirits.
Nice. And what was the inspiration for that one?
It was a multitude of things. Loss primarily, and not. I think that's why I had to live it before I wrote it. One of those things, So I think that's why it took a long time. But it's it's kind of the play of spirits being sort of a haunting memory, and then spirits being what we use to drown those memories, and kind of the combination of those two, not dealing with loss in a very healthy way at all. If that makes any sense. So that's what that song kind of meant to me.
Cool. So sorry that it might have been a little bit loud on you in the beginning there. I had turned you up for the interview portion, which
I got a big mouth when I sing. Sorry.
Oh man. So you were telling me a little bit about how songs go from one spot to the next, inspiration to final phase. But how many songs have you written? And well, let's start with how many have you written?
You asked me about that. So how many songs I've written? Probably well over 100 songs I've written. What I've actually recorded is probably enough for 3 albums. I thought 35 songs, 35 songs.
Nice. And I also want to just back up, and I apologize to our viewers if some things seem disconnected. Again, this is a 3-person, 3 people doing the job of, 20. But I do want, Aaron, I want you to know you got some applause. And also,
Yay. Thank you, guys.
yeah.
Oh, shucks.
Tatiana?
Tatiana, my daughter.
Yeah. She
Hey,
said,
boo.
Elijah is loving watching his grandpa.
And that would be my grandson. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. You got anything you want to say to them?
I am their biggest fan, so I don't know if they're my biggest fans, but I am theirs for sure.
I think they're
Hey, guys.
probably, I think they're probably big fans. Okay, so you said, 3 albums worth. And have you produced some albums?
Yeah, so I put out an album with Hurry Up Wait, and an album with a band called Chronic Monday, which was more just a 5-song EP. We didn't do a whole lot of playing out with that. It was mostly a studio project, and a writing project with a gentleman who also plays in various bands around here named Adam Haddon. And that was a really cool process too. We did that with Mark Goldie. We Hurry Up Wait project we did over at Studio H with Tony Anders. And then also Spirits, the song I just played was recorded in Nashville. Dogs Have Ears studio, I believe. Going back a ways. And then mostly we've kept the studio experience local. Been working with Mark Goldie forever over at Rock Garden. He's an amazing engineer, producer, musician, you name it.
Yeah, I love Mark. He's another one of those kind of old soul kind of guys. So, blah blah blah. Where am I at here? Tell me about the song that you're the most proud of.
I don't know. I always think it's. I don't think I could love my songs as much as I love my kids. Sometimes people use that analogy. Well, I can't pick it's like picking my favorite child. But they all have some sort of emotional attachment. Otherwise, they quickly usually don't make it to the actual recording process if they don't mean something to me. So it's hard to put my finger on which one is probably the most emotionally attached I am. It'd probably be to the one I just played.
Yeah, nice. How long does it take to write a song?
I think the fastest I've wrote one is 15 minutes, and probably the longest one was about 7 years with Spirits.
Wow, 7 years. That's a long time to be hanging on to it, but I'm guessing it's just kind of it mulls over in your head.
That's what it is, and it's such a simple song, and there's not a whole lot to it lyrically or musically. However, there's 30 verses that were thrown away before I chose those. The chorus was rewritten probably at least 12, 13 times before it ended up the way it was. And I'm not saying it's perfect, but it was perfect to me,
Yeah. Hey, I want to shift gears just a little bit, and we're going to end, not yet, but we're going to end with one more song, right?
All right, sure.
So pick a good one. they're all good ones,
Sure.
right? But and again, we're a little ways away from that yet. I got a couple more questions for you, but we're going to literally end the webcast when you finish out your song. But I want to talk a little bit more about any advice that you have for people that maybe are feeling down or depressed or alone. And I want to preface this by saying, not everybody's there yet. Some people are like, it's a snow day, but there are other people that are there for sure. I talked to a lady who we've done some work for her business, and they're actually a big part of our business. And she broke down on the phone.
Yeah.
She didn't know what to do. She's, seriously thinking about closing down her business. And so this is very real for some people. What kind of advice, and maybe advice isn't the right way to say it, inspiration? What can you tell people?
Depression is such a complex thing, and it has a variety of definitions, from depression that we all feel. We just kind of, I think people use that to describe just human emotion like sadness or loss or whatever the case might be. Those are just natural things we feel as a human being, Then it gets into the more clinical type of depression where it's debilitating to a certain degree. As far as what I could give for people that deal with either or both of those things, I don't know. I mean, I can't speak to what works for them. I can, and even to speak to what works for me, music is a huge part of that, It's therapeutic, both in dealing with it when it happens and from a preventative standpoint. So engage in something that you're passionate about, that you love. Find something that's bigger than you. get yourself involved with other people, and not just, socially, but helping other people. I think that also can bring more meaning to to your life, and I think you get out of that every time. You get out of that more than you can ever hope to put into it. Those are the things that have helped me. Sometimes it's just riding the storm out. It's going through it, knowing that other people are going through it. That helps. And I think from people that don't deal with more the clinical side of depression, what can they do? Sometimes it's not what you say. Sometimes it's just being there. Sometimes just calling somebody up and saying, "Hey, I'm thinking about you."
Yeah.
And also when if you know somebody, if you're a friend with somebody that's dealing with that type of depression, understand that when they don't talk to you for 2 or 3 weeks or 4 weeks or sometimes 3 months, it's not personal. It's not you. They're going through something. It's not a personal offense. They're dealing with something that's probably pretty heavy at that point in time. Recognizing that and knowing that sometimes all it takes is just a message or something. That's the best thing you can do. It's not always a long conversation. Sometimes it's just thinking of you, kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. 2 more questions. The first one, anything else that you want to talk about or mention that I didn't give you a chance, didn't ask the right question for you to talk about? Anything that's on your mind or on your heart?
No, just, I think this is this social distancing. At first I thought that was kind of an odd way of phrasing it, because I think there's physical distance that we put between us, but socially, maybe this is a time more than any time to reach out to other people socially. There's other ways to be social rather than just physical proximity. So I think maybe take this time that we have if we're off of work, whatever. Take the time for some self-reflection, and I think when this all blows over, we're going to have a new appreciation for now the proximity that we have, the close, shoulder to shoulder kind of contact that we have with people that we run into in society every day. I think we've lost appreciation for that. I think by and large, people are just so caught up in their own day, their own world, that sometimes they walk through life with tunnel vision. They don't recognize the person who just served them coffee or the person that they just bought gas from or whatever. I think just being mindful and being open to opportunities to engage people socially in a meaningful way would be a kind of a cool thing to think about, at this kind of strange time.
All right. Well, I'm gonna have us get just even more serious now. I've got this question on my mind, on my heart. Aaron, do you prefer over or under?
I'm not really.
I'm talking about toilet paper.
I know.
Right?
I know. It's a deep question, though, Lance. Probably
I'm asking everybody about toilet paper.
I was not necessarily. I did not have a preference either way. Really, it was kind of a random thing for me for a long time, until I worked for a janitorial company, and in sort of their human resources department.
Did they have a policy?
Over. There was no over or under question. It was over. So I guess that's now become my new habit.
Okay, so fun story. When Kimberly and I first met, well, not just first met, but when we get married and living together, and she prefers over, and to the point where she would change the role on occasion, and so I thought, well, this is crazy, like I clearly prefer it under, but I'm just going to do an experiment.
Sure.
I'm going to flip the role. And however it lands in my hand, that's how I'm going to put it on.
Leave it up to chance.
Yep. And I did that for like a year, to the point where it didn't bother me. But here's what I noticed, something really important.
Did you keep track of how many unders and overs you get?
I did not.
Because that might be the universe trying to tell you something. Just saying.
No, but what I did was, what I realized is there's reasons why I prefer it over or under. Sometimes it's just, yes, we are going there. So sometimes it's the position of where the toilet paper is in relation to where your body is and what hand you're using to swipe the toilet paper. And I found that when the toilet paper is on my right, I definitely prefer it under, because I can swipe it off with one hand.
Right on.
And over, it just really doesn't seem to work that way. But I think it has to do with distance too. But anybody that's a cat owner knows that you cannot put your toilet paper over. because that allows the cat to unroll the whole roll. But under, it probably won't.
So there's a pet factor.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's only right at this time that we're talking about that we talk about washing our hands after we get done with that activity.
Yeah.
Whether you're over or under, you always wash after.
Yeah. Have you found that your hands are getting chapped?
I have noticed my hands are getting chapped. Do you have a remedy for that?
I do, actually. I can't.
Really?
I can't give you any because
You're hoarding it. Are you hoarding?
I'm hoarding the moisturizer. No, actually, I had to pry it out of Kimberly's cold dead hands. No, she gave me some moisturizer to use, and it's not from washing my hands that I'm noticing it. Well, first of all, I switched to like a moisturizing soap. I normally prefer a bar soap, so I switched to a moisturizing soap. But what it is, it's the hand sanitizer that I'm using, and I don't use it around the house. But oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah. So if I have a chance to, go to do a job, and right now they're far and few between, but we're doing a little bit of work. We've got some churches that want to do live streaming, and so we're going out and doing the single camera stuff, observing some strict protocols. But before I get there, hand sanitizer. As soon as I touch something, hand sanitizer when I leave there. And I have one part of my pinky on my left hand that's getting raw. So it's crazy. All right, so just about ready for that last song. Before you tell me about it, give me, am I going to use this word right? Give me some levity. Does that mean lightheartedness? Is that right? I've used this word wrong my whole life.
As opposed to our deep conversation about TP?
Right, yep.
Yeah.
We need more levity. Is that right? Am I using it right?
You are using it right.
Yeah, okay.
To lighten the mood. Yeah, I think levity is going to be a good thing.
Because I know your song is going to like drive me right into the ground again, right?
I tend to write those type of songs.
I love it. It's
You
perfect.
know, I can't have a serious conversation for the life of me when I'm just talking to people. When I write, then
it comes out.
Then the sadness shows. No, levity. I think just in general, to keep a sense of humor and to laugh about it and to realize that that's okay. Whether you're crying about a situation or laughing about a situation does not mean you're making light of the situation or diminishing it. We all have different ways of purging and getting it out of our systems. Some of us, it's tears. Others, it's laughing. And so don't judge anybody if they're, if they're joking about it, that's their way of dealing with it. Nobody, I don't think anybody at this point is being cavalier about this happening. But maybe just be gentle. In general, and on social media, I think right now is not the time to post angry political memes. Yeah. I think now is probably the time to maybe knock that off for a hot minute, and just start being human and decent to each other.
Yeah, and I'm guilty of that for sure.
Me too.
And I have
caught up in it.
I have pulled back quite a bit. It's been a tough thing, and so I guess not a lot to say about that. Tell me about this last song, because again, we're going to end the show with your final strum. We were trying to figure out what the proper term is. It's not tickling the ivory. It's not shredding the nylon. It would be. We need a term. What do you?
We're strumming the strings, we could say.
Yeah, strumming the strings.
Yeah.
On your final strum, we're going to be out. So go ahead and tell us about this song. What was the inspiration for it, name of it, and all that good stuff.
So back in the day, I used to spend a lot more time in bars than I do now, but now it's more of a business thing, And I have my safe spot on the stage, and that's kind of what I do. I do enjoy talking to people, but not in the same way I used to. Anyway, back in the time where I was just having different conversations in bars, there was this guy I met and talked to for probably 4 hours. He told me his life story, and this is kind of that, and it's sad.
Cool.
I'll warn you.
All right. You are ready to take it away.
At the same shit bar on the 3rd of May, practicing my religion and getting born again. Ordered 2 shots, one for you and me. But I'm drinking alone to your memory. You could pick me up that way you let me down. Head in the clouds, feet chained to the ground. Will you pick me up that way you let me down? 'Cause I ain't gone nowhere since you stopped coming around. Neon light right across the street, and through an empty glass is flashing vacancy. Took a false sign with my misguided love. He filling it up, but it's never enough. You could pick me up right where you let me down. Head in the clouds, feet chained to the ground. Will you pick me up right where you let me down? 'Cause I ain't gone nowhere since you left this town. I hear you're living somewhere up in Illinois, and that you finally found Jesus and a blue-eyed boy. While I'm still searching for my salvation at the bottom of a bottle, praying from the top of my lungs that you would pick me up right where you let me down. Head in the clouds, feet chained to